Okay, let's really talk. Man, no matter if I talk to a man or a woman about, relationship stuff, companionship stuff, sex or whatever, anything, relationship, marriage, whatever, dealing with women, dating, what have you, right? Man, for the most part, almost nobody. I'm not gonna say nobody, don't get me wrong. They had some times where, but almost, whether it's a man or a woman, almost all the time, none of them are putting themselves in the other person's shoes, but they want to deal with each other. Like, these are people, like a man, right, for example, that I might talk to, or a woman, right? They're dating the opposite sex. But when they're talking about dating, relationships, sex, marriage, this and that, and so things related to those things, they stay viewing it from their own gender's perspective, right? You know what I'm saying? But you're dealing with the opposite sex. Now look, I feel like both parties do this. You know what I'm saying? Man and woman, right? None of them don't put themselves in other people's shoes, or none of them really look in the mirror and say, okay, what could I be doing? Have I done something, or am I not doing something? This and that, and so. Because look, even if we're not talking about relationship stuff, right? This, as human beings in general, I think, without even thinking about it, right? You already know what you've been through. You already know how you feel. And if you're talking about something in relation to what you're going through or how you feel, you don't have to tell yourself that just how you feel gonna rise up, unless you are really like, you gotta really catch yourself. You first and foremost, we talking about relationships, so let's just stay here. You have to want the truth, and you have to want what's fair first, not what you want. That's how I feel, whether you're a man or a woman. The truth. Why wouldn't you want the truth, right? And why wouldn't you want what's fair? Because you want what's fair if it's going to favor your point of view. But let it not fair go out of the window. Just how you feel or what you've been through going to rise up. And some of the stuff that you've been through and some of the stuff that you feel is valid, right? You really been through some things. Stuff like that. Things really happened to you, or things really didn't happen to you. You could have had good intentions and all that. Cool, Not this. I'm not stumping on somebody's experience or how they genuinely feel about some things that may have or may have not taken place. That's not what I'm talking about, right? But this is what I like to see. I like to see that you need to think for yourself. You shouldn't let your anger or your hardships think for you. You know what I'm saying? Because they usually not rational, right? If you done been through something and you done been through a hardship and make you feel a certain way or whatever, in order to have some rationale, you got to want truth. You got to want fairness. You got to be focused on real purpose and intent when it comes to dealing with people, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to sex, and not just what you want, or not just how you feel, or not just what you used to, unless what you used to lines up with truth and fairness. But a lot of time you ain't even thinking about that, because you just going about what you've been through, how you feel, or what happened to you. And a lot of times, if you really want to be real about it, a lot of times people been dealing with each other in the wrong way anyway. They really ain't come into certain situations with good intentions a lot. I ain't saying, some people did, don't get me wrong. But sometimes people been dealing with each other the wrong way anyway. Had ulterior motives. Ain't really was like trying to be fair. Wasn't really trying to get down to, have some, the truth of a matter. They kind of was like, just doing them willy-nilly. You hear me talk, I'm going to keep saying it. Not being purposeful. Not having intentions when it comes to their sex drive and their emotions. That's one thing. So now, you just bumping into situations because you ain't really got no intent or purpose. And without that intent and purpose, you start getting shaped or whatever, and now you're not really looking for fairness and truth in a matter. Now you're just trying to appease how you feel or defend what you done been through. You know what I'm saying? Another big hang up when it comes to men and women and their discrepancies and all that is first things first, that purpose and intent. Lack of purpose and intent when it comes to sex and companionship. Another thing is women from a natural point of view, and I said this in another video, but it definitely needs to be mentioned again. They are more ready-made for romance, for companionship, right? Men are more ready-made for sex, right? Which is why a man from a natural point of view, let me say this, naturally speaking, right? I'm not talking about social things, not being raised. That's nurture. That's social. Things that's accepted as normal. What we see on TV. Something happening to you when you was a child that caused you to act or feel a certain. That's not natural. I'm talking about from a natural point of view. Men, I like to say this. Men are more naturally willing to go sleep with any old body. Women, they're more naturally ready to be in a relationship. From a natural point of view, they're more willing to naturally go do that than a man, right? That's why, let me give you some examples. If you hear about somebody participating in like a group sex, where it's like, people call it like running a train, for example, not to get vulgar. Most of the time what you're going to hear, it was 10 men and 1 man. It's going to be rare you hear about 10 women training a man. Because men are, more, from a natural point of view, just go sleep with willing to sleep with anybody. That don't make it right. And I talk about that in a lot of videos. I talk about that in Sex Man versus Lion. I talk about that in The Big Lie About Men and Sex. I talk about that in The Invisible Side of Sex. A lot of videos, right? But on the flip side of that, when in a relationship or whatever, for the most part, when somebody trying to push it, for a more commitment, hey, what are we doing? Are we in a relationship? Okay, we're in a relationship. When you gonna propose to me? Because we talking about the companionship, romantic side. That's usually a woman doing that, right? That's not a coincidence. Naturally, she's more prone to want that faster than the man, and the man is more prone to be willing to go sleep with anybody. I'm not saying a woman don't have a sex drive and don't want sex, but a man will go out and quickly do it more often with anybody than a woman would from a natural point of view. The natural point of view, I'm going to keep saying it because I know you're going to have a lot of men saying, shoot, boy, these women be running around. Yes, that's after nurturing and societal things kick in and help that. From a natural point of view, you are more willing to go sleep with any old body. I like to say a man needs a reason to not go around sleeping with anybody. A woman needs more of a reason to go sleeping around with anybody, right? I said it, I'm gonna say it. I said it before, I'm gonna say it again, gotta keep saying it. Purpose and intent for that sex drive. You know what I'm saying? That's why a man needs that. A woman needs it too. But what women overlook is that they need, just like a man need a strong level of purpose and intent for his sex drive, women need that same level of purpose and intent for who they share their romance and emotions with, because that's more at the forefront for you, right? And more at the forefront for a man, until he had purpose and intent for his emotions and sex drive and stuff like that, is his sex drive, right? So once he had purpose and intent governing his sex drive, he has his reason to not go around sleeping with anybody. That reason that I was saying he need a reason not to have sex. You need a reason not to go give your romance and emotions to any old body, woman. And when you have real purpose and intent about it, you have your reason not to. Now, of course, men still have romantic emotions and feelings, and women still have sex drives. Don't get me wrong. But ultimately, it's about purpose and intent, right? That's the game changer, right? Because from here on, from if you don't have that, you're going to continue to look at things probably strictly from your point of view. You're probably not going to look in the mirror. Y'all going to keep finger pointing at each other. Y'all going to keep walking in unintentional unpurposeful sexual and romantic and emotional situations, and it's going to continue. Right? Like you heard me say in another video in the past, if you've seen that video that I made called having a side chick, right? You have other things that's attached to your sex drive. You have other things that's attached to that inner romantic emotion and companionship feelings that are naturally in you, right? Whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, right? That natural nurturer in a woman when she's in a relationship dealing with somebody, supporting her man, being there for her man, being loyal to her man, stuff like that is attached to your romance. On the man side, like I said in that video, I'm just reiterating. The man, you know, as being that head, being in leadership, being a provider, being a protector, stuff like that. That, listen, now we're talking, these are natural things. A man naturally, that's naturally who he is. That stuff that I said about a woman, that's naturally who she is. Look, you got purpose now. Those things are naturally attached to these things, right? When you're looking at these things, when you have these things, would be that truth and fairness that I discussed earlier. You want to have real truth and fairness when operating with these things or dealing with someone else's. That's how you can start. That's how you start finding purpose and intent when it comes to those things that's sitting on top of those things, the sex drive and a romantic companionship and emotions that's undergirded by these that natural protector, that natural provider, that natural nurturer that's in you, woman. You need to be truth and fair about those things to start giving those things that's sitting on top of it purpose, right? And it will help shape those, and this where the mix-up really come in at. All right, we naturally have these things, but we are born into this world, right? We are born into this society, and that plays a big part on how we start feeling in relation to those things. That plays a big part on how our perspective about those things. That plays a big part on how we feel about those things, right? And if you haven't seen the best examples, you haven't been around certain, you got used to certain things, you know, what you see on TV, what you hear on the radio starts shaping your view about how you're supposed to feel about these things. That's when the chaos takes place. That's why, ultimately, God needs to shape how you feel in general, but right now we talk about those things. And if we just being real anyway, we already really know, we know, a lot of times we know, I ain't gonna say a lot of times you already know what's fair when it comes to dealing with somebody romantically and sexually. You know if you there just to try to get some sex or smash, or if you know that already. So stop complaining about women if you've been dealing with them wrong. Same thing with the woman, right? Because see, a woman, I can see how they you know, they can feel some type of way a little quicker, because look at what they are more naturally prone to give to you. See, sex, that's that, you know, if, with no purpose and intent, that's a orgasm, a feeling, and go about your business. But if you're more naturally prone for romance and companionship to be at the front and wanting togetherness, you're giving more of you to somebody, right? Not just sex, oh, go ahead about my business, right? So, but with that being said, you could, woman, sometimes you could get over anxious, wanting that so much that you know, prematurely give that to somebody prematurely invest too much with hopes and dreams. No, you need something solid, solidified, like, no, what do we really have here? Forget my desire to really want to be in a relationship. That dude got a desire to really want to have sex. You know what I'm saying? Some of them. Hey, you give him what he want. If he ain't got, he ain't operating no purpose and intent with his sex drive. He just, running around, like I like to say, being an emotional terrorist or a sexual terrorist. Yeah, you done got into that. You try to be overzealous and give that emotional, romantic, let's build something part of you to somebody who just trying to stick and move. Yeah. So yeah, you need to be more intentional about who you're giving that to. You can't be over hasty with that, just like he shouldn't be over hasty with sex. And if both people really doing that, really being purposeful about that in themselves, and then when they get with somebody, saying, you know what, I'm not going to try to force this on them. I'm not going to try to force this on them. I don't want to mislead them in this way. I don't want to try to force their hand in. That's what I'm talking about with truth and fairness. Now, the issue is a lot of people don't want to do it, and they got a lot of reasons that undergird it why they don't want to do it. Like I say, past experiences, upbringings, perspectives, and stuff like that. That's why you need to line all that up with how God wants that to go. And what you really know is fair deep down anyway. And until you really start doing that, trying to view it the way God would view it, and trying to really do what you know deep, what you really know is fair anyway. If you ain't doing that, you should stop complaining about the opposite sex. You should stop complaining about these sexual situations that went wrong, these emotional companionship, relationship issues that went wrong. And even if you were being fair, you can't let hardships and situations that you've been through make you so bitter and scarred that they start thinking on your behalf, and now truth and fairness doesn't matter anymore, because just how you feel is starting to think for you instead of you thinking for yourself.